Let's stop trading and talk to Jim. I'm constantly worried about Taiwan and the potential consequences with China. President La, who took over as president, has shown inconsistency. At one point, he expressed anti-Chinese sentiment, arguing that Taiwan ought to foot the bill. However, there is an intriguing division between Nvidia and Taiwan Semi. Although they always trade together, Nvidia might suffer if Taiwan Semi imposes a tariff. When I return, I would state that Nvidia is a crown jewel and that the president will not oppose it. The Taiwan Semi link will ultimately be maintained, so you shouldn't sell Nvidia on any of this because, in my opinion, the president continues to highlight jewels that don't require payment. Remember, those aren't covered by the CHIPS Act and are legally correct. Additionally, considering Elon Musk, one of the most influential figures in government, and he will be, and his statements regarding his heavy reliance on Nvidia. They occasionally have frenemies moments because, well, I believe Elon would want to be self-sufficient. However, he consistently says, boy, they make good chips. Therefore, I believe that Nvidia is a winner in this case rather than a loser. Okay, so all in all, Jim, you need to pay attention to the bond market, which is in charge tomorrow. There are a few bad auctions that are now taking place. Therefore, you should be aware that Procter & Gamble's suffers when interest rates rise and when trade conflicts occur. Thus, I wouldn't purchase Procter just yet. What? What? Nothing. I understand the issue. It is being impacted by both. Well, what about him? Blue adores Blue. Blue adores the financials of Wells Fargo. Yes, and Charlie Scharf wins since, in my opinion, the asset cap disappears. As it happens, I prefer Charlie to Jamie. David, you are aware of this. Why'd you say that? Was the question I was expecting to be asked by J.P. Morgan when I made that statement, and it's gratuitous in my opinion. It's true that you prefer Charlie to Jamie, which is why I haven't even given Anna Boden any praise. No, David is not involved in it at all. It's not personal, it's business. I'm not like Jay Marr, the new president. Viewers, thank you. I appreciate all of your hard work over the past 24 hours. I watched all the channels, really. My wife is watching a different station when I get home. I snatched up the clicker. Come on, Di. I'd like to see how long this guy lasts, I said. This man is trying to set a record. A string of big tech news has caused the Nasdaq to have its worst week since September. SEMA, a portion of that activity, has been monitored by Modi. Hello, SEMA. Carl, hello. Additionally, semiconductors in particular are attempting to recover from last week's loss of more than $360 billion in market capitalization. The largest laggard was Nvidia, but it is now improving as we wait for it to be added to the Dow this Friday. Nvidia has also requested that South Korean memory chip manufacturer SK Hynix accelerate the development of its next-generation memory product. It is regarded as an additional piece of evidence confirming the high demand for Nvidia's GPUs. This comes as an increasing number of analysts express concern about the election's wider effects on the semiconductor industry. Nvidia and other companies like Texas Instruments and Qualcomm, who released their earnings this week, will suffer long-term consequences if Vice President Harris wins, according to BFA's calculation of the impact of a higher tax rate. According to BFA, the largest possible obstacle is the possibility of tariffs under former President Trump, which would put pressure on the industry and raise prices for memory and equipment players. For comparison, the chip industry beat the S&P by an average of 51% when a Democrat was in power and 38% when a Republican was. Two significant earnings reports from NXPI and LIS Semiconductor are released tonight, and tomorrow Supermicro will provide a significant business update. Gentlemen, I neglected to include one significant piece of information on one of the largest stocks on the market, and occasionally the largest due to its back-and-forth fluctuations with Apple, and that is, of course, Nvidia. Nvidia is entering the Dow, Surat. It will be Friday before the opening bell, as we found out the other day. Just think about that for me. What would happen to the stock when it comes to Nvidia if we discussed how Berkshire's sale affected the stock's trading in relation to Apple? Because of its relevancy, I believe it maintains its momentum. By displacing Intel with Nvidia, it is essentially stating, hey, this is a company that's going to be there for a long time. Since not many people purchase the Dow index, you won't receive the beneficial tailwind that would arise if it joined the S&P. However, the fact that this is still relevant indicates that these products will be around for a long time, which is great for the stock. Okay. Additionally, Nvidia is already momentarily overtaking Apple in the race for market capitalization. What's the difference between $3.389 trillion and $3.38 trillion, you ask? Since June, it hasn't closed higher than Apple on that statistic. Thank you very much. Nvidia is doing really well. However, neither is in pain. In terms of market capitalization, I wouldn't say it's spectacular. We have returned. Except for Nvidia, which hasn't released yet, the majority of mega-cap names are down after last week's earnings results. The news that the company would join the Dow this week has caused those shares to rise. Here to discuss his thoughts on the Magnificent Seven is Aswath Damodaran, the Dean of Valuation at NYU Stern School of Business. Welcome back. Seeing you again is pleasant. Scott, thank you. You've had a time to process this as a shareholder and an observer, both of which are important to us. What do you learn from this? These businesses, in my opinion, have mastered the art of manipulating earnings. Look at them, I mean. They come in 2 to 3% above forecasts. You're probably thinking, why even bother with the expectations, since they're likely to beat them by 2 to 3%? The true story, in my opinion, is found in the financial reports, and I believe that businesses demonstrate this. As an example, Microsoft acknowledges the potential of AI products and services, but the promise is not being fulfilled in terms of revenue. I checked the companies and there aren't any blowouts in either direction. However, in my opinion, you should be searching for a shift in narrative, which isn't happening at the moment. They have been operating under essentially the same storyline for the entire year. Have any of your personal holdings in these names been sold? Since you are both an observer and a stakeholder in many of these names, as I mentioned, I just like to keep our visitors informed. About a year and a half ago, I sold half of my Nvidia, but I haven't downgraded in any of them since. Furthermore, I haven't promoted myself, because I frame it in terms of what I paid for these equities in the first place, rather than what they were worth when they were at their peak 3 or 2 months ago. I feel quite good about what I have. So I'm content with my current location. Being content with my own choices is all I need to be as an investor. You got into those names early, which is why you are a professor of finance at the Stern School of Business. How about Semis? We brought up Nvidia, which is displacing Apple at the top of the market capitalization hierarchy. Although it has undoubtedly had an amazing run, not all of the stocks in this market are Nvidia. How do you evaluate the semifinals? This is the one location where I firmly believe you have witnessed leadership truly fracturing or splitting, and this has been the case throughout the spring, summer, and fall. We are aware of the Nvidia chart's excellence. We are aware of Broadcom's excellence. Applied Materials, where are they? Lam Research is where? Where is ASML? Samsung, where are you? You know, I believe it's the quickest of those for what is considered leadership. Just 25% of semis are truly above their 200-day moving average, making it the weakest subsurface. With semis over the next 4 to 6 weeks, you do have some excellent seasonality here. In my opinion, if you had a bounce, I would be more likely to fade it rather than chase it in the semifinals. Regarding Berkshire's sale of Apple, I questioned you earlier. Let me now turn the tables and ask you a question on Nvidia and its entry in the Dow. Based on your observations throughout the years, how do you think about that? Indeed, on some level, the Dow may have felt a little out of step with the current state of the economy due to the prior inclusion of Intel and the lack of a play on Nvidia, which accounts for 7% of the S&P 500. One may argue that it is simply clinging to a high momentum play after it has already achieved its maximum benefit. I was just examining the market capitalization comparison between Nvidia and Apple, which is currently neck and neck. Okay, Nvidia,